Hey guys, it's your girl, Mishell Latour, and I have my two amazing co-hosts.
Yeah,
Time to
it's
introduce.
Nikhil Sharma. What's going on, guys? No, what's going on, man? Pleasure to be here and really excited about today's topic.
How you doing, everyone? I'm Kevin Drummond, and I'm happy to be on the No Place Like Home podcast.
I like what you did.
So you guys, this topic is fire. The topic is, and we're all kind of wearing it, black sheep. So black sheep is something that gets thrown around very out there. Like a lot of people resonate with the black sheep. So kind of introducing my story here. As I was little, since I was little, I had this feeling like I kind of stood out like a sore thumb, like, why am I different? Right. I didn't have many friends and I just felt like I thought differently, I acted differently, and same thing with my family. So my family never understood me. I was kind of like always pointed as this rebellious child, which I was. I in this in this podcast we praise rebellion, and that's something that I learned to love about myself because rebellion is so empowering. I know that people see it as like something negative, but I see it as the most beautiful thing ever when you actually embrace it consciously. However, like it it came with like a very difficult path. The black sheep has a very difficult path. However, how has that like impacted your guys? Like I know you guys are also the black sheep. This is why you guys are part of my soul tribe. So I want to
Yeah,
hear more about you guys' stories.
facts. I mean, we're the Black Sheep crew. Uh,
Yes, sir.
I always felt like I had no friends. Uh, I kind of lied to myself and tried to fit in throughout my life, just because it sucked being lonely as a kid. Because you see everyone around you that has friends at lunch. Everyone was at the lunch table, giggling and laughing, and you're trying to just looking around trying to fit in, and it's very uncomfortable. And for whatever reason, and actually it's not for whatever reason, I think the reason why I thought that I had to be like everyone else is because I watched a lot of sitcoms and television as a child, and everything that I saw on television was like picture perfect, and like the popular kid and the sports guy, and the nerd and the cheerleader. And so I translated that to my reality, and I'm just like, dang, like, where do I fit in here? Like, I played sports, but I didn't really become like really athletic until maybe like sixth grade, where I was actually good. I started playing basketball when I was 10, and before then, it was just really difficult. I actually got in a lot of fights because it was so uncomfortable at times that I would get angry. And I had no idea of how to deal with that because I thought that the discomfort was unnatural. No one told me like, hey, like learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable would lead to growing into the best version of yourself. Now, that's one of my superpowers. Most of the people my age are living in vicious cycles of unhappiness and trying to make others happy, and I'm not. So it what used to be a weakness and what used to be something that worked against me, but what used to work against me is now my superpower. Like I learned to be uncomfortable, and when you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you're able to break through these ceilings of complexity. Like you're able to develop to your highest self. So I had to learn that it's okay to be alone. You actually learn how to, I guess you can say, sharpen your iron and learn what different skill sets you have during those moments of solitude.
Yeah. Talk about black sheep. I'm 42 years old. I'm an Indian male. I'm not married. I'm a doctor, but now I've left the doctor field to pursue starting a company. So if you want to talk about black sheep, I feel like I'm the definition of it especially when it comes to being in the Indian culture. And the way I was raised was, I had two typical Indian parents whose main focus was to get me to become a physician. And that was their main drive. They were very strict. And I think black sheep looks different in each family, but in my family, you know, my parents loved me. It's just they showed their love in ways that, you know, were that they were used to. And so growing up, they were very strict, and it was all about making sure I had the right grades, making sure on the weekends, instead of like playing with my friends, I would be upstairs like studying for the SATs. My dad would be watching me, you know, those types of habits. I know it's crazy. Like I'm like talking about it right now. And then what would I do? I would like figure out ways, like I'd lie to my dad and be like, my stomach hurts, and I would go to the bathroom and I would lay down in the bathroom. I would take a nap there for like 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Like this is the, you know, I wasn't fitting the mold of like what they were expecting. And then what, you know, how that starts getting worse is that, you know, I'm not getting 4.0s. Then I start feeling like, you know, I'm not good enough. My self-worth goes down. Then my parents didn't want me to have a girlfriend growing up until, I guess in their minds, was of the right age to get married. But of course, I couldn't like, you know, not want to be around girls. So, you know, around 11th grade, that's when I feel like I had a growth spurt, and, you know, I was able to like, you know, attract some girls. But that really disappointed my parents. At times, you know, they threatened to kick me out of the house, and I was just going through, you know, a rebellious phase. But as soon as I had a chance to go to college, I went there. But my parents' like focus was like, Nick, you have to become a doctor. So imagine for 1 second that the energy that you could spend trying to figure out what you want to do in life was kind of like shielded off for me. And my line of sight was just on becoming a doctor. And so what happens is that, you know, I'm in this field of like biology, and I'm like, this shit sucks. And, you know, I like, it's not like it was just taking that course wasn't really resonating with me. I knew I wanted to help people. And because I grew up around that, and my heart kind of told me that this is what I need to be a part of. But I didn't want to do it in the way that was typically done, which is like becoming a biology major or a chemistry major and then going to medical school. My mind was like more attracted to doing, I guess, more conceptual things, more process things. So I actually ended up majoring in information systems. And it's crazy, right? Because now I'm a CEO of a tech company, and you can kind of see how, right? Like how that kind of comes back into play, because my heart and soul was actually leading me to do things with technology, but my parents were kind of driving me to become a physician. And so while I was growing up, all my friends started getting married, you know, at a very young age. And so that made me feel like, you know, maybe I need to, you know, go ahead and like be with somebody, because everybody around me is becoming with somebody or being with somebody. And it's crazy, but either it's consciously or really subconsciously, you get influenced from the environment that you're around. And so if everyone around you is with somebody, you almost feel like, you know, I need to be with somebody too. Should I be getting married? I'm 25, 26 years old. Is something wrong that I'm not wanting to get married? And I thought about this process so much, because I started looking at my friends that were getting married, but they didn't seem like they were happy, but they were doing it, you know? Like, and I was thinking to myself, how can somebody just get married or do something that internally it doesn't feel like the right thing to do? Like I've had a lot of trouble trying to put that together. I'm not in their minds, so I don't know. But all I knew was that I wasn't ready, and I wasn't going to be forced to do something that my soul was telling me I'm not ready to do.
Very well said. You followed your intuition. That was something that I had to learn along the way. And I think that's what sets us black sheep apart. We know what's right for us and what's not. We know when our soul's on the right path and when it's not. And people who can stand in their purpose and follow their soul's path, those are the black sheep. Because most of the time, society doesn't want you to follow your soul's purpose. They want you to do what's best for them. They want you to do what fits their schedule, what fits their agenda. And when you decide to depart from that, you are now the enemy. You are now the black sheep.
So I loved your introduction of like, so to a little background about me. I am 30 years old, single mother. I am from Peru, first generation Latina that comes here to the US. So I have these generational beliefs from my culture in Peru. But one thing that that stood out is that the black sheep is the gifted one, because it has that rebellious spirit. And every family, I feel like it does, because now that you think about this change in the energy, right? The new earth that's here, we're here to make a movement. We're here to influence, because one of the biggest traits that the black sheep, the rebellious one, the lone wolf, whatever you want to call it, has the ability to critical think. Because as a child, I would be like especially my mom, like I kind of grew up in a very toxic household, that I knew that this is not wrong. Like my mom would open my mail and I'm like, but like this is not right. Like you don't have to do that. Or she'll be like, I'm like 21 and she's like, you have to be home at 12 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm here at 12:01, knocking the door. You missed a minute. And I'm like, oh Lord, lady. Or she'll be like, this is not a hotel. You can't come here whenever you want. Or like, no tattoos. So once I got divorced, I went ham on tattoos. Now I have this whole legal. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Type of, so I I just don't care anymore. And one thing that the black sheep really does carry, which is I wouldn't say a negative, more of like an empowering, because we all have to kind of heal from the shame that comes from it. And this is the title of you're a bad girl, you're a bad son, or you're a bad boy. And it generates not only guilt because you start judging others, but it comes with this huge belief that I am bad, which is shame. And every time that you do something, whether you hurt someone's feelings, which is sometimes like, if I want to like speak my boundaries, I can't speak those boundaries because I'm a bad girl, or I'm made to believe that, right? And it causes this rebellion, right? When you think about childhood, like I think it's kind of like, I feel like our souls pick our parents, right? But then the path that we kind of go on, which is our parents being so overbearingly protective, it causes a lot of like not them respecting our boundaries. That causes a lot of rage and rebellion. So what do? Because we don't speak those boundaries, we suppress them. And that builds rage. Rage isn't bad, it's just the fact that we weren't able to have a voice. And now after we get like fired up, after that volcano kind of like erupts, we're like, deuces, we're kind of gonna say what we want. We're gonna speak our truth. Like, and that's when it's really empowering. But the journey of the black sheep is a hard journey, but you're here to empower. Like I feel like we're all here to make an impact. Like think of the biggest like influencers back in the day that made movements because of their critical thinking, because they stood up for something that was right? Because of their creativity, the ability to go against the grain, like individuality, authenticity is built from those black sheep. So that is us, guys. That is us.
No, I really just wanted to jump in on what you're talking about and feeling like abandonment, because that's exactly what I felt. When, your parents are disappointed in you because you haven't followed a certain track, you're not getting certain grades, when you're not getting married when you're supposed to be getting married, that starts building a lot of resentment inside you. You start looking at your friends, they seem happy in their marriages and their lives, and you're being looked at as a lost soul, because I've heard that a lot of times about myself. I'm not sure if that's happened to y'all, but lost soul, imagine like hearing that and feeling that. What kind of emotions start going through your body? Just think about that for 1 second. A lot of shame, like you said, guilt, anger. What's wrong with me? I can't, stress how I started feeling that way because of what society was like telling me, that something is wrong with me. And then you start believing that. You literally start believing that. And then what do? You're in a lot of emotional pain, right? Remember, energy equals thoughts plus emotions. So imagine what energy level you're in when your thoughts of now, because of the environment, become very negative. And then it's tied to things like guilt and shame. Your energy drops. You become very low vibrational. And so what do you do in these like low vibrational states? You'll want to escape pain as much as you possibly can, whether that's with working, whether that's doing drugs, whether that's doing alcohol, whether that's having codependent, polyamorous relationships, whether that's gambling, because you don't have the right foundation when you're in that lower vibrational state. And that cycle, and I call it a really karmic cycle, lasts for years. Once you're in this state, and especially if you're the black sheep, you're just in this karmic cycle of negative loop pattern of doing the same thing again and again, because again, then you start getting addicted to those emotions and being in that state and understanding that, hey, I can't really hang around my married friends because now they have kids. So I start getting a little isolated and I need to do other things, to, help make me feel better. And those things end up being really toxic for us. Right. So it's a really difficult journey. But, for those out there that are listening that resonate with this, you're not lost. You're in a process of finding out who you are. And I think the best thing that happened to me was that, I went to a place where I felt burnt out, but it was that I found a community of people who were like me and in situations where they also felt like, they were lost or they were trying to find out who they were, and they were authentic, and when you start being around people who are vulnerable and authentic and, have been through similar situations and are real about it, that becomes really powerful. That support gives you a foundation for you to flourish and to start growing and self-actualizing and finding emotional fulfillment. And it's just a process to get there.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at the black sheep and you look at like a pack and there's a black little dot in the middle, think of it like it's really hard for people, especially with like certain cultures, right? To leave their own tribe, which is their mom and dad, their friends, their hometown. But I think it's a journey that your soul comes with that, hey, you gotta like go away somewhere and then find yourself, because then you attract your soul tribe. And, for the viewers out there, like you guys literally came into my life like a gift, like a little, like, here you go, because we were so aligned. Like it was just a message in my DMs, and I was just like these people I vibe with, like you guys understand me, I can be myself. And it's beautiful because I've never experienced that, not even with my family, not even with friends that I've knew for like years. So for the people out there that feel alone, right? Because it's a lonely path first, because you got to work on some stuff, you got to do some healing work. Literally, the universe will do its thing. Like you will attract your own soul tribe as long as you're doing that work.
And it's important that you mentioned that healing aspect, because I feel like black sheep are very sensitive individuals, and because they're sensitive, they tend to conform because they don't really like too much any kind of altercations. They like to kind of keep the peace. And so that's why these individuals are actually very creative. They're artistic. And when you start focusing on healing and looking at the dark aspects of you, you start bringing light to that darkness. And when you bring light to that darkness, you start inspiring others to do the same. So understand that if you're a black sheep, you have a calling, and it's about you shining that light in that darkness, and then using that to bring some light throughout the world and to inspire others through your healing process. Because for me, like creating this company, Alliance, doing these podcasts, this is extremely healing for me. And it's because of going through all the events that I went through in life that I was able to have this realization, this awakening, and to be like, you know what? I'm on my own path. My path isn't like my friend's path. My path isn't like my parents' path. It's my path. And I own my path, and I'm gonna take my path as high as it possibly can go. And F all y'all, you know what I mean? Like I got, you know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, like it's a very powerful thing. Like when you've been selected for your journey, you own it and you go with that flow.
Yeah, you said you've been selected. And a lot of the term too that comes to mind is the black sheep is everyone is chosen, but they're also the chosen ones to really make a movement. And it's a huge thing for them. A lot of people out there that are listening, that you may feel like, okay, you've been bullied, right? Or your family kind of like exiled you out, and they kind of like blame you for everything. And you just felt like weird and maybe you didn't have any friends. It's important for you to do that healing work, to really accept and integrate your shadow aspect. Because when you do that, you realize that you're here to make a movement. Because what ignites my soul every day, like I wake up with such like playful spirit, like a rebellious spirit as well. But I wake up so happy because my passion as a transformational and authenticity coach and an energy healer is to motivate other people, to inspire other people, like, hey, you can show up authentically. And it's so freeing when you get there. It's like I could just kind of vibe, like, yes, this is me, and this is me because I'm so focused on my own path. I'm not here to be like anybody else, because there comes a moment in your life where you kind of like, I had to think about it. And that comes with also like a lot of black sheep are very introspective. We question since childhood, like we go inward. We question why, right? And that kind of sticks with us until we're older. We question why, and why is the magic word, guys. Why is always what we need to ask ourselves. But it's when you actually get to that point, you realize there is nobody else like me, but I'm here trying to be like everybody else. And power lies in your authenticity. When you step into like that power as a creator, you actually stop thinking like, oh, I'm not going to be this way because I need to be humble. No, humbleness comes with like knowing your power, knowing your strength, and stepping into that. It's a wrap after that.
I completely agree. And I didn't realize it until this conversation that because of the guilt and shame that our families give us, we're unable to live authentically because we always have in the back of our head that we're disappointing someone. And I didn't remember the exact term. I know you brought up you're a lost soul, but one thing that was always told to me, and I love my parents, you know, you don't know what you don't know. But one thing that they always said is like, I'm so disappointed in you. I'm so disappointed in you. So anytime I tried to live authentically, that was always in the back of my head, like, man, they're going to be so disappointed in me. They're going to be so disappointed in me. So instead of me being able to live to my full potential, instead I was thinking, man, this is going to be so disappointing. Instead of being excited about, wow, I have an opportunity to do something that is true to my heart and true to my soul. Instead, I'm thinking, wow, once again, such a disappointment. And I can laugh about it now, but that used to be painful.
It's so true. So true, man. Very well said.
Yeah, I love that you said I'm so thankful for my parents, because it came to a point in my life that when you do the healing work, you have to truly forgive your parents, because when you think of it, nothing exists outside of you. So when you don't forgive your mom and dad, you're actually angry and upset at yourself. It has nothing to do with mom and dad, because the energy, the law of one, if you guys read that book, there's only one energy, right? So when I see that everything is just a reflection of me, and if I can't forgive my parents, or I keep talking about, which is a viral subject, is he's a narcissist, that is just like a cover up for you not looking within yourself and realizing that I also have the same traits, right? So forgiveness is key, because forgiveness comes with you forgiving yourself. When you realize the mirror analogy, when you realize that everything is just one.
Right.
So you guys, I think it's a wrap for this episode. And I think one thing I want to ask you is, whoever's viewing this, ask yourself, what are some aspects of yourself that you're holding back, that you're not accepting, or that you are not able to embrace authentically? And if you need some more help, check out the link down there. I have a authentic 30-day transformational journal that's really going to help you out. So thank you guys for being here. It was a great energy. I just feel it. I love you guys.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.